Modern homes epitomize sophistication and innovation, each telling a tale of sleek elegance and contemporary flair. And today, we're taking you to see 4 remarkable homes. First, a glass house with breathtaking views of Lake Michigan, then a transformed London chapel that was once a recording studio frequented by the Rolling Stones. We continue to a Palm Springs-inspired home filled with touches of Hollywood glamour, and finish off with a 1960s Dallas, Texas ranch house. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Hi, I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy.
I'm Roz.
You're here at my home in Los Angeles?
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. To access all of this exclusive content, simply click the Join button below to become a member today. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Celeste. Welcome to my lake home in Michigan. Come on in, I'll show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
I'm Celeste Robbins, and we're at my lake house in Southwest Michigan. This house was built in 1956. It's a mid-century house. It was designed by Winston Elting, and he was a contemporary of Frank Lloyd Wright and kind of the mid-century architects that were doing work in Chicago. The home has had only 3 owners. I'm the third. It's a simple rectangular house with glass on one side that faces the lake and more solid as it faces the street. It's wrapped with a lot of wood beams, and I wanted the home to feel consistent with the vocabulary of mid-century, but also fresh. So I was really concerned about having pieces that reflected me and not feeling like I was being a slave to any particular style. So the home has different vintage things which I tend to be drawn to, but European, French mid-century pieces, as well as some contemporary pieces. So I placed pieces that I felt were in keeping with the materials that were here. But I didn't feel like the house gave me any constraints. It felt very natural to be able to place things in it. So the house is about 2,200 square feet. So it's really efficient house. There's 3 bedrooms and a study, a kitchen and a great room, which shares the dining table and the seating area. You are able to get a lot of rooms in here because there's not a lot of secondary rooms. There's no mudroom, there's no laundry room. The house is sort of covers just what you need. And I always feel like it kind of reminds me of how much you can accomplish in a small footprint. It also sits on 2.5 acres with a beautiful beach. And so it kind of has both that cozy, inside the house feel, as well as this whole place to kind of retreat to and walk on the beach and plant flowers and, just get away. This is the entry and the great room, and really the entry of the house. There's not a formal entryway, but upon entering the house, you have this beautiful lake view and dining table, and you'll also see the table outside. So these spaces really kind of work together. So the dining table is really more than a dining table in our house. We use it for puzzles and games, and a lot of time in the evenings we're kind of hanging out here before we go over to the living space. My tip for hosting is to have a go-to meal that you know how to prepare. So I'm not that comfortable doing a lot of entertaining, so I've just made sure that I'm really good at a few things. So I make bacon wrapped dates, and I cook salmon with a beautiful green goddess sauce and a quinoa as a side dish. And then I usually like to have something that everybody can participate in. This is not the kind of house where you're serving people. People are kind of joining in. So it's a lot about kind of cooking together. We play board games. We play a game that's similar to Rummy. Another one that we play is Phase 10, which is super easy. And a lot of people, if you don't know how to play it, can play it. So we have a whole closet full of games. So it kind of depends on our guests and what they might know how to do. And I found that people may kind of be a little bit worried about the idea of when you suggest a game, and they always end up having a lot of fun. It's a lot of laughs, and people get so used to just watching TV, and it's just, we don't have a TV here. We have our fun outside and eat, and it usually works out to be a lot of fun to have a game. And one of the really cool things about this room that I really love is how the fireplace is off to one edge. The architect that did the home was really kind of looking at balance and not a formal symmetry. So the fireplace is pushed to one edge, which gives you this large window. As you come down the hallway, when you see the rest of the house, you always have that view out. But what this creates is this cozy little nook that we love. So after you've had a whole day at the beach, you have this ability to kind of nestle up in the edge here near the fireplace. And the original home had the built-in seating and the shelves. I didn't do any changes to that other than reupholstering. But then I came up with my own kind of living space. I designed these ottomans to be something soft to really bring in the center. I felt like there was a lot of hard surfaces with the fireplace, and I wanted something soft to kind of ground this seating grouping. And so a lot of times people are kind of laying down over here, napping, snuggling up in this chair, or we can seat a large group. So it really works for a number of different people. Over on this edge is another table, which is kind of great because if we ever need to have a large group, this has leaves, but we can really use this to set up a puzzle so you don't have to take it apart for dining. It's a great place to sit with your iPad, and it's tucked in the corner, but this is sort of like a beautiful view out the large windows of the great room. I fell in love with this home. I was first introduced to the home as someone called me about doing a project here. They wanted to renovate it, and they were interviewing different architects, and I just felt like this is my house. Like I just know how to do this house because I had originally, the first house that we had as a family was a mid-century house. So this was very familiar to me. In fact, it has a lot of similar qualities as that house. And it turns out that they didn't buy the house. And so when I knew it was available, we came up and looked at the house and decided to purchase it within 30 minutes. It has sort of everything you'd want, at least for our family. It has the architecture, all windows, which is just something that's kind of my vocabulary, connection to nature, connection to the outdoors, the warmth, layered in with modernism, which I really love to be able to communicate to people how modern architecture can be warm, and I feel like this house is a perfect example of that. And it's not just because of the wood, it's sort of the whole package. So I immediately loved it. It did look a little different. There were porcelain tile floors. The kitchen I redid the kitchen, the bathrooms. We replaced the wood on the walls to be a little cleaner and more polished. So it has sort of changed the feel of the house, but it's the same house, just a little bit more crisp. So one of the things I love are these large sliding doors. And you have to kind of remind yourself this house was designed in 1956. So having these large 7-foot doors slide with ease is a really wonderful kind of idea about moving inside and outside. So we spent a lot of time out here, and it has the same idea as a great room, where we have a dining space that's shared with the living space. I added this outdoor kitchen, so it has refrigerator, drawers, and another refrigerator and an ice maker, and we set up and always have a buffet here. So this is a really fun area, and we also have another fireplace. So there's 3 fireplaces in the house, the kitchen, the great room, and then also one on the terrace. So wherever you're kind of gathering, there's sort of this idea about leisure, and I feel like that's one of the things that's not hard to forget when you're at this house. So I am a big fan of Sutherland furniture. I think they have beautiful designs. It's got perennial fabrics. But what I really love is I want to make a big moment, I don't want a bunch of pieces of furniture. I want to connect it. This is a really nice way to have a lot of people seat, and it just feels inviting, like a gathering space. So this is used pretty much all the time, whether I'm by myself or whether we have a huge group over. So this is our access to get down to the beach. And I just planted these plants here, which are butterfly plants. And it's really magical to be able to go down to the beach and have these butterflies and kind of wind down. But our property also goes over to this little peninsula. And this is really where we go to enjoy the sunsets. So I purposely didn't put any furniture out here because I like the idea of just bringing a blanket out and sitting on the grass and relaxing after the end of the day. And you really get to look over this point and look down the beach. My personal style is pieces that are interesting, that go together but don't look like they were found all at the same time. I like to feel like it looks layered and evolved, and it kind of did, because every piece was really fun to be able to kind of search for. But a lot of the pieces I found were not necessarily, I didn't know where they were always going to go. Sometimes I'd find a piece and then move it around into a different room, and I like having that kind of flexibility. I think it's always feels warm when you go into a house, and it feels that people might tinker around in it, you know, like you're going to move some vase because you've got some, you know, new object or new book or new ottoman. And so I feel like the house looks kind of casual in that sense, but each piece is really interesting. What I love most about this home is that it feels like me. I walk in the door and it is me, because I put every single thing in here and everything was chosen with love, and the architecture feels like me, but I didn't do it. I feel like I'm kind of living in another architect's passion, and I feel really honored about that, and I feel like I'm here studying and thinking about what that decision was, and it kind of inspires me. I feel like I'm learning from it. I love to just be here and tinker around. So it's not one particular thing. It's just when I walk in the door, I feel happiness. I don't think it's just me. The house has a great energy, and I think anybody that comes here knows how much I love it, and I think that that comes through. And I think it, you know, it's just a really lovely scale and really easy living layout. And so I don't think I have a favorite part, but I guess if I had to pick one favorite thing that I'll definitely want to try to do, no, two favorite things that I want to try to do in a project that is not something I've done before is most of our projects tend to be bigger homes, and we use the house to kind of create outdoor courtyards and spaces, and this home is very small and edited. It's a rectangle, very simple, but what Winston Elting did was he carved into that rectangle courtyards. And so rather than the home having an organic shape and creating spaces, it's a very regular shape, and these kind of courtyards bite into the house, and nature just sort of folds into this environment, and I love that. So I feel like that's an inspiration. And the second thing is this tiny little slot of a window where the shelves kind of overlap it. I think that's a really nice detail that I'm sure I'll find in some project somewhere. Another element that I love is this slot window on the edge that just kind of gives you a peekaboo moment and lightens up this area. So during the day when the sun comes in, the sun illuminates the fireplace and kind of washes in, creating something that could have been a dark corner, and by creating that small little slot of glass really enlivens it. So as for the furniture, I really love the pieces that have a lot of sculptural quality. One of the things you'll notice is for an architect, these pieces are very soft. I'm not looking for things with hard edges. I'm looking for things that have curved backs because you see the back of them. I think it's really important to be able to not have a space feel like a rectangle within a rectangular room. So I always choose soft pieces and things with an interesting back. These are Scandinavian, this is a Scandinavian chair in sheepskin or shearling. These are two chairs from the 60s that are from France. And I covered them in a light linen. So everything that you see here is all natural materials. I felt that that was really important when you have such a strong connection to the outdoors, is to bring things that also felt really natural within the house. The two ottomans are done to create something soft to gather around. I didn't want a hard surface that would compete with the fireplace. I felt like it would be more cozy to have these ottomans. They're covered with velvet. So I would say I'm not looking for practical materials. I like things that feel luxurious. I like things that feel soft and natural, and if it gets damaged, it's part of the life of the home and it looks lived in. So for me, I'm not afraid of using a really beautiful material in the house. This is an alpaca rug. It feels amazing on your feet, and we are barefoot a lot, so I've enjoyed that. Here, I'm really grounding the table under this pendant light. It's also on axis with the table that's outside. So there's a really strong connection that pulls your eye from indoor and outdoor, but it feels very inviting and welcoming to this area. So I think it's really important that when you do a room that shares spaces, that they feel inviting to be able to get into. So there's no hard edge with the furniture creating something that feels like another room. It feels like one big room. And in fact, I went out of my way, and I usually do this in our projects, is think it's really important to use one big rug. That's really telling people when they come in here, this is one room. If this was a little area rug over there, it would feel more broken up. And I don't want people to feel like they're in sections when they're in the room. I want it to feel like one big space. That makes it feel grand and anchors the house. So this is the room that everybody knows is the gathering space. I grew up in Ohio, and I was not one of those people that knew they wanted to be an architect. A lot of architects kind of know from the time they're a child, but now looking back on it, it makes sense, because as a child I was constantly building forts out of blankets or cardboard or pieces of wood around a tree. So I really loved to be able to kind of think about space as a child, but it was introduced to me as I was ready to enter college. I was thinking about engineering because I was good at math, and my dad was an engineer. So I was thinking about engineering, but my dad took me to an architect's office, and when I saw what they were doing, and then spoke to my art teacher. That really inspired me. So I ultimately chose architecture. I've had my own practice for 28 years now, and that started when my son was born. So I wanted to be able to do my career and have flexibility. And so shortly after he was born, I was doing projects from the house. So for 8 years, I practiced on my own with 2 little kids, kind of in the basement of my house. And you know, I had help, but most of my work was done after I put them to bed, so about 7:30 till 1 in the morning. And I loved it. I would never do it any differently. It was a lot of fun to be able to have the time with my kids and then also have my own time at the end of the day. And I did that for 8 years. And I feel like that really helped my career because I really understood what it meant to do every phase of the project, because I did every phase of the project, from the business to the construction drawings to everything. And now I have 9 people in the firm, and we do work all over the country. And I think that all came from just a passion for how much I love what I do. Now I'll take you into the kitchen, but I want to show you this first. So sometimes you can find pieces, but sometimes you can't find just what you're looking for. So I designed this table, and again, this has a soft shape. So it's got curved edges, it's wider on this end, so it feels really organic. When you come in the door, you're not walking into a hard corner. This piece of art is also something that sometimes it's not just the hard surfaces of the architecture or the furnishings. Sometimes you pull together spaces with the art. And this dark stained wood starts to help tie in the kitchen. As you get there, you're going to see that I use darker wood in there, and it's also on the floor. And just kind of a little note, I love to compose things. So a lot of times I'm just sort of composing things on a table, and later I look at it and I realize that I've really responded to different shapes that I see together. So the lines on this piece of art is picked up by these candlesticks, and the shape of this bowl you see is kind of a shape of this artwork. So I think it's really interesting to not always have an obvious tie-in. It's kind of subconscious, but having these different geometries that get composed together. So we can go into the kitchen now. The one thing that's so great is that there is no wall. This is a very modern way to tie spaces together. The window wall slides through on the edge, so these rooms aren't defined by 4 corners. This is open and flowing, and it's inviting to always let you feel part of this space. So as you can see, the glass is sliding through and carrying itself from the great room over to the kitchen. And the living area has a fireplace, but one of the things that is really special about this house is there's also a fireplace in the kitchen. I think it's such a luxury, and it really treats the kitchen as a living space and not just a space that does cooking and work. This is a space that we gather, and it's kind of small, but it works really well for me. So I always want a kitchen to feel like a living space. It's a space that people always gather, and I always want it to feel like it's part of the home. So I love to hide appliances so that it just feels more calm and it feels more elegant to me. So hidden behind the panel there is the refrigerator. And over on this side is the oven and cooktop that I've hidden behind doors. It gives this beautiful elevation so that the fireplace can be the star. But if I need to cook, this opens up, and the cooktop and the oven are behind the doors. I also have things that I love for display, because we all know that this ends up open more often than it does close because you're usually using it. So one of the things I did in the kitchen when I renovated it, besides putting the oven and the cooktop behind the doors, was I moved the refrigerator over here, and I made a really shallow cabinet here. And what that did for me was it allowed me to extend the island to be a longer space, which I wanted. But I love having these shallow spaces. It becomes kind of decorative. And within all of this it's really not just about dishes. You can see that I've really kind of filled the shelves with things that I love. So I looked for things that had pink in it, and a lot of the glasses have pink because that was kind of the idea in the home. And I have little objects that I also have collected. This is a Japanese candy maker. I love the stained color, this wood, and I love having the idea of a bird. So I think it's fun for people when they come to someone's house is to feel like they get to know a little part of you. So composed within here are things that I love. And I think over time it'll probably shift around, but that's what I have right now. I think what gives a home a soul are a number of things. And I have the book that's going to be coming out called The Meaningful Modern Home, which is kind of all about that. And what gives a home a soul for me is I'm a pleaser, so I'm really work hard to make sure that the home is what the clients want. And I think when the house is born from their wishes, people can feel that. You know, you can feel that that home is about that person, and there's an authenticity to it that I think gives the home soul. So I have a lot of confidence in what I do in terms of design. I'm not afraid of clients' input. I actually encourage it. I feel like it's kind of that marriage between the hard sort of like requests that they might have and saying yes to it that gives the home a richness and kind of the soul that you want. If it was all perfectly resolved and to the point of an architectural theory, that's great for maybe someone else, but not that person. So I really feel like just being honest and trying really hard to make sure the home lives for them brings it the soul. So this hallway packs a lot of function and connects all the 3 bedrooms. So behind this is a stackable washer and dryer. And behind this is a Miele espresso maker. So this opens up and pockets back. And people love having their own section as a guest to come and make their own coffee. We'll go down the hall here. This is the primary bedroom and the largest of the bedrooms. And what you'll notice is there's glass on both sides. So this is one of the intimate courtyards that the architect planned within this really simple rectangle. So it's kind of features a Japanese maple and some rocks. This is completely enclosed, so I could have these shades open and it's completely private. And at night there's a light on that tree and it's just stunning. Over on the other side is another wall of glass. So there's 2 walls of glass in this bedroom, and this is the lake view. I chose a palette of just very neutral colors in this room with little accents of soft pink to play off the brick wall. So this is kind of a collection of different textures and neutrals. And then it can really play up kind of these details where this is a coverlet that has a viney embroidery. And I had these playful little pillows that have little embroidered flowers on it. I like having such a feminine quality. I think it's a nice kind of contradiction in a modern house to play up something that you might have seen in your grandma's house. To me, that just feels soft and unexpected, which I like. I don't want the house to feel like a formula. The other thing that I added is this really beautiful organic table. And again, I'm always trying to kind of have this play between inside and outside, so it feels really natural to place these really organic pieces inside. And again, I love the little collection, this beautiful ceramic lamp, and the piece of art is just a composition that kind of really sits in front of the brick wall. I love glass. It's in our projects. I want to feel nature and where I am. I want to feel the seasons. I want the light to come in. To me, that feels warm. I'm not intimidated by the transparency of a glass room. I want to feel a part of the outside. And when you have a property with so much beautiful nature around you, I love that after I walked on the beach and I come in the house, I didn't have to say goodbye. It's kind of all there. And it's just a different experience. Now I'm in air conditioning. I'm gonna say that my favorite season is summer, even if that's super obvious, because it's a lake house. Fall is fantastic, but the lake has, you know, being on the lake, and I come up here all the time, so all through the year, there is not just a summer, it's not a summer house for me. I appreciate all the seasons, but this summer, it just brings more guests, and the lake is a little quieter. In the winter, the lake can have kind of a aggressive tone, and winds coming off the lake can be, you know, strong. And I love to snuggle and cuddle up on a cold day in this house, but I have to say my favorite season is summer. Okay, so one of the special aspects of this courtyard is having 2 glass walls. So you get the glass on each side of the bedroom, but this glass folds in and becomes a glass wall in the bathroom as well, which feels really luxurious to have floor-to-ceiling glass with absolute no compromise in privacy, because it's my own little intimate courtyard. And again, looking at the tree, birds have come in here, and you get to kind of watch that as you're getting dressed. And again, when it's lit in the evening, it's just such a beautiful kind of focal point within a small little room. One of the areas that I kept in this project was all the wood that was existing, this idea. We replaced the wood, and I chose to do this pink quartzite. I loved how animated it was. This is not probably something you would have seen in a mid-century house, but I felt that the pink really tied in with the brick. And again, I want to celebrate nature, and I always feel like stone has such a beautiful quality to remind us of history and kind of the earth and what it creates for us. So in addition to the bedrooms, there's a study, which is just such a nice thing to have in a house where you now can work from home. So this was a kind of a dark space when we got to here. I added that window in the corner, which really lightened up the back side of the house. And I covered the wall with a fabric that has this beautiful color that also matches the brick to lighten it up, so it didn't feel like too much wood. And it's very simple desk and simple shelves that I added to kind of mimic the shelves that you see out in the living space. So I feel like you might have thought the other architect would have added this, but this was all kind of an intervention that I used and just was informed by what was existing in the house. This is also kind of the back door to the garage. It focuses on a courtyard again, so it has a lot of light, and there's never an area in the house where you don't feel like you have a connection to nature. This is a chair that I found on First Dibs. That's a Scandinavian chair. I had it covered in linen, and what I think is so cool about it is the leather and the side area to have a drink. So it sort of has your whole little relaxing moment in one. But I also added this lamp that is by Charles Zana that has this really sculptural shade. And I love just this whole idea that it's very low and relaxing in this one little corner of the office. Home, for me, is a place that you recharge. It's a place that you're in complete serenity. It's your place that you're at peace with, and that you can relax with, that you can bring company in and feel comfortable doing so. It's not too precious. It feels part of the surrounding, so that I think nature does bring a serenity and kind of a sense of peace. So I feel like incorporating that into the house is kind of all part of our language.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Michal. Welcome to my home in London. Please come in.
Hi, I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy.
I'm Roz.
You're here at my home in Los Angeles?
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Michal Silver. I live in Gunter Hole, Gunter Grove. It's on the edge of Chelsea, on the borders of Fulham. It's that part of Chelsea that's not so fussy, it's not so pristine, and it's a mix of beautiful buildings and a bit of a council flat on the side, and there's some nice cafes, and then there's still a few shops that are a bit run down, and I have that feeling of a real sense of a city. I'm sort of a North Londoner girl. We've lived in North London for about 25 years since we moved to London from Paris. And I loved the green, and we had a wonderful garden. But the commute down to Chelsea every day was just it was just too much. And there was a moment that I said, I'm going to give up the garden. I want more of a city life. And we looked for a space that wasn't as traditional as other spaces, and I just came by chance. I went on a website, a modern home, saw this place, and I walked in and just felt like this is the house that always waited for me. So it was so interesting because we hardly did any work to the house. We didn't move a brick. We painted the walls, we redid the bathrooms, and we sort of got ourselves sort of in the groove of the house. And it's interesting because it has a real historical significance. It was a chapel used by these nuns, and behind the back was where they used to live, and there was this refectory where they ate. The laundry sort of on the side, but we got the praying area, the chapel. And it was used for as a recording studio in the 60s and the 70s. One of the bands was the Rolling Stone that used to record here. And the rumor says that maybe David Bowie used to live here for a while in between spaces, apartments in London. So a bit of history here, quite eclectic, but we love it. So we haven't done any work, and we especially love, when you look up here, I love the windows with all the stained glass windows, and there's something very Londoner about this place, because it's not defined, it's a bit quirky, and that's really what London is all about, is this mixture of structures, periods, temperaments. So for me, there's something very nostalgic about this place. Welcome to my home. Welcome to Gunter Hall. I love this little entrance hall. I love the tiles. We've created that. They're a mix of a pattern, and we just laid those triangles together, and they work so well with all these lovely ceramics. I love the work at 8 Holland Street. It's the most beautiful gallery in London, and I love their ceramics on this sort of more mid-century teak sideboard. And then come with me into our living area. And it's what I love about it. It's one big space, but we've created these corners. So we have the reading corner. Usually I sit here with my husband, we read, we love reading. You can see our bookcase. And we had to get rid of so many books when we moved here. It was one of my husband's requests. And the dilemma now is whether I go back and reread them or I keep buying new books and reading new books. So I'm sort of in between. At this point, I'm still buying new books. But yeah, I have to read every day. Reading is part of what I do. The best way for me to relax is to get about 30 minutes or an hour every day to read. I'm not a big TV person, so I think reading is really part of what I do when I come home. The wing chair is a chair that's been following me from Israel for about 30, 40 years now. I bought it in the 80s and I love it. It could be a chaise longue. Once in a while, we'll just change the covers, and that's with a Romeo Gili rug that was created by Christopher Farr. It's an original woven keeling in Turkey. So I love the splash of color and the energy. You know, you walk into the house and you see everything, and then you discover these little corners. So this is our dining area. We love having friends over. We love entertaining. I love cooking. So that's a big part of what we do here. Dinners are a big thing in our home. And we have here a Sandra Blow, which I adore, this collage. We used Sandra Blow as we created a collection of wallpapers with the archives of Sandra Blow. So it's a very personal painting for me. Jean Prouvé table and chairs and Eames chairs, a nice mixture. Again, lots of pops of colors. You can tell that red is a color that I love, I connect with. Has a great energy to it. I love Jean Prouvé because it's so functional, and I love the mixture of wood and metal. And it's really very much, he was an engineer. He didn't train as an architect, he didn't train as a designer, and then sort of with work and construction moved into being a fabulous architect and a designer. We love having friends over for dinner. Dinner is always very informal with us. So we have some plates from Mexico. I love those hand-painted plates. They're so, you could just feel the hand, the way they painted it, they burnt it. There are lots of faults, lots of mistakes, but I love that element. These are some glasses from Jerusalem. It's very, very traditional Jerusalem glass and the way the shapes. My mother's silverware, and these are the best ceramics, Spanish ceramics. You find them all over Spain to cook with. You put them in the oven, everything comes out so delicious, so wonderful. So very eclectic, very informal. That's the way we basically set the table when we have friends and the families over. I think I was drawn to art, as a young kid. I wasn't very good in school. I wasn't very, very academic. And I went to university. I studied art history, and parallel to that, I was very ambitious then. I was young and very energetic. And I did 3 years of art school. And it sort of meandered into fashion. And I worked in New York and Paris in fashion for about 15 years. And when we moved to London, I worked with Mulberry, and I was their head designer for the men's and women's collection. And I was working very closely with Roger Soule at the time. And he said to me, why don't you use some of our fabrics from our home collection in the men's and women's collection? And I did it, and I fell in love with textiles. And then I said, that's actually what I want to do. And I met Chris and Matthew. They had a very successful, very known artistic rug company. And I said to them, let's do something together. And that's how we started. That's how we started Christopher Cloth in 2000. So it was a sort of, again, a natural transition from fashion into textiles and color and pattern were really something that defines what we do. Craftsmanship is another element that's very, very close to us, very dear to us. So our rugs are hand woven, our prints are hand printed in a small printouts in the outskirts of London. And we work with different designers, artists to develop the collection. It's actually quite a small kitchen for someone that loves to cook. But again, it's functional. I have everything here. I love my oven, my fridge. It's just, I have everything sort of around me, some light coming through, and that just feels like the perfect place to cook. I can cook and I can talk with friends while I'm cooking, so that I love the fact that this open space is wonderful to having dinner parties and being part of the conversation while I'm sort of prepping and getting the last bits done. I grew up in Israel, and we grew up with, using local products, fruits and vegetables that are in season. Always it's olive oil and garlic and lemon juice. And we don't eat that much meat, so a lot more fish and cheese and really a good loaf of bread. Very simple, but good quality products. So, and I love baking, so there's always something, a sweet treat at the end of a dinner. It's shelves by Decor, which were done for offices, so it's something very functional again, and I love that contrast. I like that very simple metal, and it's modular, so you can add to it. And then we put all our wine glasses and our tea cups, our tea, and when we want to have some espresso, some cappuccinos, or these Mexican hand ceramics. And then we have some decorative plates. This is a plate from Israel. I love it's Palestinian, drawn by some Palestinian ceramists. And then this is a plate that years ago I got from Tiffany's in New York. I just love the way everything works together. So when I cook in a very eclectic way, and there's the cutlery, the ceramics, the plates, it's all a mixture. But somehow with colors, this comes from Spain. I found it somewhere. So sort of all these little elements remind me of my travels. My kids always buy me ceramics or a ball or something. This comes from South Africa. So I just love all that mixture. So it's all these memories that are sort of treasures that I have on these shelves. It feels very functional. It's not fussy. It has sort of an entrance hall, which is very small and welcoming. And then you walk into this big space, and it's almost like sort of a cathedral feel to it. And what we loved about the space is the flow of energy, and you just you meander from the living area into the dining space to the kitchen and up the stairs to our bedroom. And there's even a small terrace outside of our bedroom, so we can sort of have a view of the London sort of buildings and just something very urban about this place. It's been a year and 6 months, so it's been 18 months in total, and we're still getting used to the house. And it was interesting because when we moved in, we brought all our old furniture, and gradually we're changing, and we are sort of organically going through and feeling the space, and then the space really is the dictator, or informs us, or gives us that sort of sense of what's right and what's wrong. I think what I love about this place is how minimalistic it is, how structural it is, and there are no embellishments, there are no decorative elements in this huge space. The only decorative element are these stained glass windows, and I just love the arched long big window with this flanked by these two more smaller narrow windows, and then those stained glass elements in the windows, and these are telling the story of the nuns and the order that used this chapel and the monastery that was housed in this area. When we moved here, we moved with all our old furniture, and gradually we started changing and editing the furniture we had to fit this space. I think I always feel that less is more. So I sort of am always drawn to interiors, to spaces that have a lot of white space, a lot of area around them. So I wasn't concerned about filling this space. It was just adding or taking away elements or pieces of furniture or art that didn't feel comfortable in the space. So we're just learning and sort of feeling what the space, and the space sort of tells us what to do and how to do it. So it's a very, it's almost a conversation, and we're very patient about it. So we're not fussed about if it doesn't look perfect. There's some movement in this space, literally where you walk between the different areas, as well as the way we are decorating and putting everything together. So I'm sitting on an IKEA sofa. This is a sofa we bought in Paris when we moved in and we didn't have any furniture. It's one of their most known sofas, but it's in leather. So it's been with us in Paris. We moved to London, and I just love it. I love the simplicity. I love all the history that this sofa tells. There are parts, the leather is totally worn and wrinkled, and I just love all those imperfections. And then we have the Gunther Stolze rug by Christopher Farr. I love the Kilim rug on a wooden floor. And that sort of dry hand with this very organic, very round sofa, upholstered in a boucle fabric, again, a Christopher Farr fabric. And I love the fact that it's white and these very low sofa, the proportions against that height. I just feel it works very well. And obviously it's facing the fireplace. It's a great place for us during the winter. We love having a fire, and we'll just have a fire and sit and read or listen to music. The sound, because it was a recording studio, is fantastic here. So this is sort of a really big space, but because we break it down, it's really cozy. An Eames table that works great with this sofa. Color is a really important part of, I think, our lives, and there's something very informative about color. You know, you see the way people dress or the way their homes are and the colors they use, and you just get a sense of who they are. So definitely my favorite color, I always alternate between hot pink and reds. It depends on the season, the mood. But I think color, and it can even be with pillows. You can integrate and you can bring a certain feeling and through spots of color. You don't have to decorate your house with not everything has to be with color. But if you look at our living space, so we have a very neutral sofa, but then the centerpiece is this lovely rug by Gunther Stolze. The art on the walls is very, very colorful, and we kept the walls very white. I was playing with, I was just sort of thinking, oh, maybe I should have these walls painted in different colors, and it's a space that could lend itself to color, and maybe we would do something very moody with these dark olive greens and maybe dark navies, and then sort of went back to just using white, and then there's a sort of patch of green leading to our very little baby patio. So that's sort of a hint of color. It sort of peeks and leans into our space. We have the Fiore, this painting by Sandra Bloth, that we have it as wallpaper. And in this sort of, that led us to this wonderful green patio So it's the same green, and there's some plants in it, and again, the same triangle marble that we've created, sort of a mosaic, a pattern, sort of a very asymmetrical pattern. You know, it's going into winter, so some of the plants are sort of been moved into the garden from the patio. I love color. I love color, but in a sort of, in a very Bauhausian way, I think. Color for me comes in certain, it's very structured, it sits and defines a place. And I felt that this green really defines this very little space and gives it meaning. So I love that element of using color in a structural way. So that was, and then the green, obviously the outdoors, but also with the Sandra Blow Fiore, it just felt so wonderful together, so organic. It's interesting that art was always in the center of what I do. And I think that was in the connection with Christopher. Christopher went to art school, so we sort of shared that same background. So art will be a starting point. We work with archival collections by artists such as Raoul Dufy, Sandra Blow, Annie Albers, but also throughout the process, I always refer back to certain artists that I love their color sense, or I use them as references when we are working on colors, when we're working on scale and pattern. So I'm constantly going back to art history as a point of reference. So I would say that's probably my most focused point of reference. But then obviously, you know, traveling, talking with people, going into a restaurant, a piece of music, all that background is definitely part of how I sort of feel, or how I just get the sense of what I want to do, or how I want to develop, and how we want to continue with a certain collection or specific pattern. I love our guest bathroom. I just love the fact that it's all wood, there are no tiles, there's a marble shelf, and on top of it is the sink, and the sink is very sculpturous. Spaces that work small, but it works well. I'd love to take you to the bedroom now, so please follow me. So again, we have this wall, a red wall, so red again. And I love using color to define a shape, a space, a place. And the other side is a wallpaper that's a work of Annie Albers that we've launched about a year ago. And that's from her archives. It was designed as a carpet for a kid's bedroom. And then with that, we have one of my favorite fabrics we've designed. It's designed by Kate Blee. It's untitled, and it's very Mark Rothko in feel, those overlap of squares and rectangulars. So it's still one of my favorite ones. So our bedroom is, again, very simple. Some art on the wall. I love this painting by an Israeli artist that we have quite a nice collection of Israeli art in the house. A lamp by Scarpa, which he was an architect, designer, and he had a very Japanese, very influenced by Japanese design. So something very sensuous about his interiors, his buildings, and his product development. I love this room. I love the shape. I like the fact that it's not symmetrical. But mostly I love the fact that I have a bit of a terrace, and it has a very urban feel to it, and the views are very much what London is all about. It's really incredible because this garden, this little terrace is a year and a half old, but there's so much light and water, and the soil is great, and you get this lush green plants, and they're so happy here. And just against all this buildings, they're all different. And that's so much the story of London, those different buildings, a mixture of gardens and terraces. So the skyline is quite unique. We don't come out a lot, but the windows are always open and there's always this flow of light coming in and the smell of the outside. And I look at the plants and I just feel that there's part of me that's still in a big garden. I'm very much of that less is more. And I never surround myself with lots of objects. I love people's I love people when they're collectors and they collect, and I love those homes. And I look at those homes in magazines. I say, wow, I'd love a home in a sort of a similar spirit. But then when it comes to my house, somehow I just can't live with too much around me. I think that my head is so cluttered. There's so much information and colors and patterns going through my head, and I'm surrounded with that all day long. And when I come home, I actually feel most comfortable in a much more monastic type of space. So I think that the furniture, the artifacts, the art tells our story. It's my journey through life. I think one of my first actually big purchase was the wing chair. It was designed by a Japanese designer, Kita, produced by Casina, and I bought it in the early 80s, just when it came out. And this chair moved with us from Israel to New York, to Paris, now to London. And it's so great because you can flip the covers, and every few years we'll just buy a few new covers, and you have these like ears, like Mickey Mouse ears, and they move, and you can even open it up and it becomes a chaise longue. So this is sort of one of the pieces that have always been part of my life. And then where I'm sitting, we used to have the beautiful V&A sofa by Ron Arad. And it's a designer that I love his work. I think he's one of his most prolific, most original voices. And it was great in our old house. When it moved here, it just felt somehow out of space and the proportions were incorrect. So we just got this new sofa. So it's really very, organic. And then of course, working with Christopher Farr, and they have the most beautiful rugs. So here we have a rug, a kilim by Günther Stolze. She was a teacher in the Bauhaus. She was a weaver, and we've been working with her archives for about 20 years. So this is very Bauhausian in feel, and there's pattern and color. And I just love the way it works in this chapel that's about 100 years old. This is our bathroom, and it's lovely to have these both sinks. It's a big slab of marble, and the very simple square tiles. I have a collection of ceramics by Clarice Cliff, which I love her work, and I find it so modern and contemporary. So this is again a way for me to bring color and pattern into my life, but in a way that I can live with, and it still have this very, the feeling when I come into this bathroom is there's something very pure, very serene about this bathroom. So I love taking baths, and I just got used to taking baths every day now. So this is just such a nice treat. Obviously we have the shower from the ceiling. It's quite hidden. But this is where we start the day, and it's nice to have the light and this type of space. It's a metal grid, and it has a bit of a stylized floral pattern, and I just love it. And it's a great way to, especially when you want a little bit of privacy, to just get light through it, but still have a bit of privacy, definitely in a bathroom. So that's very functional, but quite decorative as well. And I love that mixture of the plain tiles that are very structural, very simple, and the metal and this very decorative element in it. These are rag rugs, and I bought them in Sweden about 20 years ago. And it's so interesting because we all talk about sustainability, but people were living in a much more sustainable way 50 years ago, 100 years ago, and reusing scraps of clothing and either using it as quilting or making rugs with it. So actually we are always looking back and looking forward and actually dealing with the same issues. So I love the fact that recycling and sustainability is such a big thing, and you still see it in different cultures, different countries, and different times as well. So there is a historical reference to recycling and sustainability as well. I had a very nomadic life. I've grown up in Israel, I've moved to New York and then to Paris and to London, and I also thought that London would only be 2 years. We've been here for over 25 years. So home is for me a space where I feel totally comfortable. I walk in and there's no noise. I'm just comfortable where I am. And it's a place that I love having my family, love having friends over.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Eddie. This is my home in Dallas, Texas. Come on in. My name is Eddie Maestri, and I am the principal architect and creative director at Maestri Studio in Dallas, Texas. And we are here in my home in Dallas. Our house was built in 1971. It was designed by a local Dallas architect, Raymond Lambert, for Albert Steinberg, who was a builder in the Preston Hollow area where we are. It had 2 owners. We bought the house from the second owner, who had lived here since the 70s. And when we found the house, it was amazing because it was in a much original condition. It had minor updates here and there, things like popcorn removed from ceilings, small updates in bathrooms, but we fell in love with the fact that the house was so preserved, which is really uncommon, especially in Dallas. So I live here with my family, my husband Adam, and our twin boys, Ethan and Elliot, who are 10 years old. So we are here in the home's entryway. The house itself is a new formalist style of architecture. So one of the key elements of that style is the colonnade that continues from the front porch all the way through the living room, and then again on the back of the house. We wanted to keep this space, grand. We wanted to keep it very minimal. We found these really fun, we call them the throne chairs, in Austin. Just one weekend we were shopping. One of the fun features are door handles. We had these doors, they are 12 feet tall. We had them custom built for the house. And we found this box of hardware under the stairs in the garage. These were actually towel bars from the 70s, and we thought they were kind of fun and kind of funky, so we wanted to incorporate them into the house, again, to keep that story going. We kept the original sconces in this space. We took them down and protected them through construction. And right over here, we have this little hand-painted piece that I actually found on Instagram from Poland. And the lamp we had found on a recent trip to London. We stayed at the Londoner Hotel and fell in love with it, and I sourced it, and here it is. So the house has this really cool sunken living room with high ceilings and a ton of light. We had to redo all the windows, so all the floor to ceiling windows are new. This space is really what we fell in love with when we first walked into the house. It felt like a perfect place for entertaining, which we do a lot. And when we first looked at the house, my kids thought that the wall of rock reminded them of the house from The Incredibles. This is a good example of something that I probably wouldn't pick today, but we have just grown to love it and think it's a really great, unique and original feature to the house. We have a very collected feel in here. I have my great-grandmother's chairs from the early 1940s that we used by the fireplace. We designed the sofa. It is a Maestri Studio collection piece called the Verana sofa. And we use this space all the time. We will sit in here as a family and read. We will listen to the kids play music. They do their lessons in here. They'll perform for us. And our house was a COVID project, so we really wanted this room. This is what we really desperately needed in our last house, and it really works great for us. We have little things throughout that we've collected. We have some pottery that we found on different trips. And we have this, even this fun little bowl. I found these brass flowers when I was in France one day at a brocante, and they're from some crazy ornate mirror, and I thought, hey, those are perfect just to have out on a table. So my son plays piano, and kind of a funny story, when we were in the house for the very first time as a family, we were looking at this spot and we were thinking, that is a great spot for piano. And at exactly the same time, one of the girls in the office texted me and she said, you're not gonna believe it, there's a piano for free on like Facebook yard sale. Do you want this piano? And I was like, yes, I will take it. So we have this beautiful 1920s piano that we happen to get for free. And my son Elliot plays, and my son Ethan plays violin. So they will sit here and do their practice. And of course, with COVID, we've had several home recitals on Zoom at this spot. We also have this really cool drafting table desk that I just love. It's not horribly functional, but I just thought it was such a really pretty and unique piece, especially being an architect. I use it every once in a while, but this is a studio craft desk from the 70s, and a friend of mine found it at an auction in California. So all of the floors are poured in place terrazzo. They are original to when the house was built in 1971. We did have to have them refinished and repolished. Very fortunate for us, the floors actually go under the walls. So when we did renovations, we didn't really have to patch a whole lot. Never seen that done in construction today, but that was great. And the white floors is what I really fell in love with. I had peeked in through the dining room window and I saw the terrazzo and was like, wow, this is amazing, I love it. But we did have it all refinished, and I just love how much light also it reflects bringing in, from the windows. So I wanted to warm up the space with a nice rug because, the floors being the white terrazzo can feel a little cold. And the space is very big, so I wanted something to kind of float. So we went with this organic shaped rug that has a lot of fun colors in it, some texture, has a little bit of a 70s vibe, which is great for the house, and it's perfect because we just floated this piece in the middle of the room. So this chair here, this is a reproduction Eames chair. I feel like every architect has to have one, right? This is kind of my spot. So this is where I will, sit and read, have tea, listen to the kids, play piano and just kind of hang out as a family. And again, we do entertain a ton, so we'll easily fit, 15 adults in this room, and it's perfect. So the chandelier is something that I had found on a buying trip to Los Angeles in one of the showrooms. It was a custom-made piece for a designer there. Fell in love with it, thought it was a perfect spot. We actually didn't have anything on the ceiling in this room for at least 2 years. I wanted to find the perfect piece to go here, and it's that. I love it. So when we bought the house, what we really loved about the house was that it had a sense of nostalgia, and we had recently built a ground-up house several years ago for us that was custom, and we wanted a house to feel collected and that it had evolved over time. So our approach to decorating the house was to use pieces that were a combination of things that we had purchased on vacations, heirloom pieces, just different pieces that we collected over the years. So it's very eclectic, very eclectic. A lot of pieces have meaning and stories for us. And that's exactly what we wanted. We didn't want it to feel like everything was brand new, just like the house itself. We wanted it to feel like it had a story. When I saw the house for the first time, I immediately fell in love with it. We had been looking for a new home for quite a while. Our previous house was great, but our boys were getting bigger. We needed more space. I found the house on Trulia one night, just scrolling, laying in bed, and I loved it. My husband did not. He was not a fan at all. He just saw it as a lot of work. But I came over here for the very first time by myself. I was, kind of scouting the house out, peeking in windows, walked around the property, and I just immediately saw the potential and what it could be. So for me, it was love at first sight. For him, he's come around. He does like it now. He told me, a few months ago that he actually hated the house when we first bought it, which is not what he told me, but he's come around and now he likes it as well. Let's go check out the dining room, and then on the way, I'll show you some details that we modified when we renovated the house. So when we bought the house, it was very closed off, which is very common for a 1970s home. We decided to completely open up this wall so that we could see into the kitchen and have a really good flow to the living room for entertaining. One of the things that I loved about the house when we first saw it, and still do, are these original chrome and brass railings that are in the sunken living room area. And then on this wall, it's perfect for large pieces of art. These are a couple of pieces that we sourced from our gallery, Maestri Gallery. So now we are in the formal dining room. Again, the space has the white terrazzo floors. This is actually the window that I peeked into the house when I wasn't supposed to. We added the antique mirror across the whole side wall to bring in just more reflection and light and to make the space feel even bigger. We also added the paneling at the bottom, the wainscoting. This space I love because it does have that formal aesthetic, a little playful with the color. It does remind me a little bit, again, of my hometown, New Orleans, with that, formal dining. But we wanted to have a little bit of whimsy in here, and this cove that's in the ceiling was perfect for that. I wanted our guests to look up and see something unexpected. So I used the bird wallpaper from Hagen West, and we uplit it with an LED strip to kind of give it more of almost like a skylight feel, looking up at the sky. And just did a very simple, paper pendant in here. The house does have some influences that remind us a little bit of Japan, which we love, and this was a little bit of a nod to that. We have a lot of mid-century pieces throughout the house. This is a G-plan console that I love. It's one of the first pieces that we had purchased together at our previous home. And I just have little things that I've collected. There's this little, Fornasetti style box that I found, some, very old tea kettles here. And the art was commissioned by us at our previous home, actually, by a local artist who's a friend of mine. And we wanted something really, nice and sleek on the windows, which are, we love the windows in this house. So we went with a holly hunt material that's kind of a sheer with a silk tassel trim. So this is just a candelabra that, we had. We love to entertain again, so we love to have candles on. And we have this big space, so we thought this was kind of a fun way to display, a candelabra and candles for a dinner party, aside from having the whole table set up. And it has this really nice backdrop outside. It's raining here today, but this is kind of our Japanese garden on the side of the house that is an ever work in progress. And one of the fun details that I love on this house are little rooms, like we call this the dish room, that is something that we really wished we had at the last house. It's just great storage for plates and dinnerware. And we did a fun wallpaper in there by Pierre Frey. So it just has great storage. This is, what we use for entertaining, for parties. And of course, a little bit of a wine collection. Not a whole lot of wine, but we're not big wine drinkers. So in this room, our dining table, it only seats 8, but we have brought other tables in here. We hosted a dinner party in the early or early fall for about 15. We do most of our entertaining outside. We actually held a dinner party last night for about 15 people outside. So we do a lot of entertaining, and there's constantly people in the house. We'll mainly use this space, to set up food and have people kind of graze. These red chairs I have had in my life since I was 2 years old. These were a gift to my mother from my grandmother. So they have been with me since I was a little bitty, and I just love them. So this is our bar. This was original to the house. It did get unexpectedly partially demolished during construction when we were rewiring the house, but we did put it back together. We have a lot of my great-grandparents and grandparents' glassware and different tiki glasses that we've accumulated over the years. I went through a tiki phase. This is one in particular from the Formosa Cafe in Hollywood. And this is great when we entertain, especially with the dining room being adjacent. We'll serve drinks. Our friends will make themselves at home here and make a drink and come hang out. And it's been a great way too to display, again, different pieces that have been important to me and been in my family. We will host people as often as we can, even just, Sunday dinners with close friends. We'll have, my team, we had our company Christmas party here last year. We hosted our gym's big summer event here over the summer. So we love to entertain. We love to have people in the house to, just enjoy it with friends. So when we were renovating, there were a lot of steps to preserve the original house. When we first bought the house, I joked with my husband, I said, oh, we're just gonna do paint. And then, it's an old house. So one thing after the next started happening. We had to rewire. We had to change all the systems in the house. It had termite damage. So before long, we were going from this project that was supposed to be purely cosmetic to every room in the house had exposed walls and studs, and the guts were hanging, all over the place. So it was really important for me. I wanted elements of the house to be preserved. So we took down original lighting. We protected as much of the walnut paneling as we could, the cabinetry. And I really wanted to put it back together to feel like it had always been that way. I also worked with talking a lot with the seller's daughter to get more history on the house and understand how they used the house. She was very nice to give me photographs, from the 70s. So I took a lot of that inspiration into account. So for example, in our primary bath, there was a crazy palm frond wallpaper that I saw in a photo, and I said, oh, that's great, let's reincorporate that. So for me, it was really important that the house still kind of had that story and kind of had a sense of what it always had been for other people who had lived here. My personal sense of style is that I like things that I can look at and bring back memories and have a story and have a feeling that I can associate. Some of my friends make fun of me and say that, my style is kind of granny, and maybe that's possible. I mean, this is kind of a grandma house. We bought it from a 97-year-old lady, but I always felt very comfortable in those types of homes as a kid, like my grandparents' house, visiting other adults' homes and just kind of thinking about the stories that might have happened. There was a wedding hosted here, in the 70s. They entertained the Texas governor here. But for me, I like pieces that, were in my family, pieces that have meaning. I have several pieces that were not very great, but might have been the first thing that we saved up for to purchase as a couple, and to me that has a lot of meaning. And they're just different pieces that have been with my kids, as toddlers, and now, kind of getting into that preteen phase. So I wanted the space to feel very at home for us, and really to kind of tell the story of who we are more than going for design trends. Let's go check out the kitchen, and on the way, I'll show you a peek at our powder room. So in the powder room, we wanted to keep the original cabinetry. It has the original hardware as well. And we did the paint in a fun cilantro color. And I wanted the room to really be a statement piece and something that people would talk about and think, it's really fun. So we did the fun faces wallpaper. So we are now in the kitchen, which is one of my favorite rooms in the house. We wanted it to be funky and fun and to have personality. My husband loves to cook, and it was really important for me for the kitchen to feel like it could have been original. So we did, keep all of the base cabinets, which are black walnut, and everything above we completely redid. So all of the brass cabinetry is new, and all of the walnut paneling is new as well, and we matched it to the original kitchen, which we had modified. We ended up pushing this entire wall back to create more space in this room. And because my husband loves to cook, he wanted the Le Cornu range, which we thought was just really beautiful and had a sense of nostalgia to it. And we had a custom hood built to match the style of the range. So the wallpaper is something that I knew I wanted to use before we even had the house. I had kind of a wish list board, so to speak, that I saved for years, and I just love the wallpaper. I thought it was really fun, had a good energy, I love the colors. So when we bought the house, I knew I wanted to use yellow in the kitchen, and I thought it was just perfect. The intent in the space, it was to have pattern on pattern. It was actually very inspired by some books of mid-century kitchen design in the 60s and 70s. So I knew that I wanted to use kind of the white brick motif and to have a lot going on. So we did, the pattern floor. And then of course, we had to add in some brass, which was key for 1970s design. All of the cabinets were new. We actually raised this entire section up. They used to have this little pass-through section here for the breakfast room. And all of the new cabinets that we had built, we matched it in black walnut. We opened up this piece, like I had mentioned before, to the living room. So it's great to have that sight line. It's actually dead center on the fireplace, which worked out great. And one of my other favorite features that we added is this entire section of windows. This was just not here. There was a little bitty window in this spot. And we loved being able to see out and see the trees. So the island is a piece that I had custom made. It's based on a console that Martin and Brockett makes in Los Angeles, and they customized this piece for me. And we had the countertop put on to feel a little bit like a surfboard shape. A lot of the design in the house is kind of a nod to Palm Springs in Southern California, so we felt that shape was perfect, not only for circulation, but just for the aesthetic of the house. And that, the marble really kind of ties in with the floor and just gives us, again, more of that pattern that we wanted and the warmth. So Adam is always trying a new recipe. We have a lot of our cookbooks up here that we store. Mentioning the dinner party we had over the summer, he had this elaborate spread. It was probably like 15 different dishes, and he likes to just try to master each one. He's great at it. My son will, pull different recipes. Lately, this is his favorite, this book, Japan cookbook, and he'll find noodles or something that he just wants to try. He's a major foodie. I have always wanted to be an architect since I can remember. I think I was probably 4 years old, and I would draw house elevations on cardboard. My dad would cut them out and I would glue them together to make little houses. My parents built a house when I was 5, and then from that moment on, I knew that I wanted to do that forever. I went to college for architecture. I got my master's in architecture. I worked for a firm in Dallas for a few years on the commercial side, and then went out on my own. I started moonlighting. So I started working for some builders in the area. I started doing some custom homes for friends of friends, and then formally launched our studio in 2008. And from that point on, it's been, for the most part, early on was architecture only. And then now we are completely full service. We do architecture, interior design, landscape architecture, which is great because it kind of brings home the approach that I've always had, is that it's all integrated. So, I went to architecture school, but I always think of the project, from start to finish very holistically. How is it from just arriving at the property all the way through to the bedding? So that's always how I have looked at projects. And my family, has always been really into design as well. My mom, has great taste. I always, would love working with her on our house as a kid. And my dad, was always very handy. So there was a project every weekend in our household growing up. So this is our breakfast room. This is where we eat dinner every night as a family. And because the house doesn't have the open concept, it was really important for us to have a space that we could also kind of live in and chat while, you know, the kids are doing homework and Adam's cooking. So we had this sofa customized to feel like a banquette piece. And this is where, you know, we'll also just kind of hang out at the end of the day. You know, I can use my laptop here and talk to Adam while he's cooking in the kitchen. And we have these chairs, which we've had forever. These are two of the first pieces that we bought together for our new home back then. And we also have this great Haywood Wakefield china cabinet. This was actually a gift to my grandparents for their wedding. It's part of a larger set, which has been distributed all over. So this is the piece that I have. So we have this vintage Tronchi Murano glass chandelier. This is actually a piece that we bought for our last home and took it with us. Has that 1970s vibe, which was perfect for this space. And we also just love the way that it reflects off of the lacquered ceiling. This wall was originally a grass cloth when we bought the house, and we wanted to pay homage to that. So we found this great wallpaper that has that kind of grass cloth feel, and it pulls in some of the colors that are also in the kitchen. So these wall sconces are you know, really funky, kind of gaudy, honestly, but I love them. These are Dorothy Draper style plaster corbels that I had found, and I wanted this room to have lamps, but I didn't necessarily want an actual lamp. So we uplit these to feel like a lamp or a sconce, and just something that was a little bit more unexpected and different. The room is so indoor-outdoor. I really wanted something a little bit organic and playful, and I wanted to tie in with the white brick that is on the exterior of the house. Speaking of the outdoors, let's go check out the backyard and the terrace. So we are on the terrace. This is one of our favorite spots in the house. We just love this backyard. We have a pool and we have this great creek back here. So it's just definitely a unique feature for Dallas. Again, amazing for entertaining. It's raining, so unfortunately not a sunny day, but when it is sunny, it's beautiful. This whole space reminded us a lot of California. Another reason that we fell in love with the house. I went with a black and white tile to have very bold, very graphic, to have a little bit of that Hollywood, Beverly Hills feel. And over here we have a little bit of a raised terrace that, you know, is perfect for morning coffee, and to really make the space feel more dramatic and larger and to reflect our gas lanterns, we installed another wall of antique mirror that just makes the space feel like it keeps going. And then this is our outdoor dining. We just had a big dinner party out here last night when it wasn't raining, but we love hosting, and it's just a perfect spot for a summer or fall day. So on the porch, I wanted something to feel more sculptural and kind of fun instead of just your typical chair. So we went with these crazy spin chairs. My kids love them. They're fun, and they look like a piece of art. My boys are completely night and day from each other. I have one of my boys, I think, may be interested in architecture, but you know, at this age, he's kind of wants to be a pilot, so who knows? But you know, they both do go with me a lot to, you know, events, visiting job sites. They have to run errands with me to pick up, you know, bedding and accessories for clients, so they're used to it. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's going to take or not, but I would say between the two, Ethan seems to lean more into it than Elliot. So we are back in the breakfast room, and this staircase leads up to our family room, or what we call the TV room, where we hang out in the evening. And we wanted it, you know, it's not a grand staircase by any means, so we wanted it to really have a statement feel. Also to have a little bit of a movie night feel. So we lit the stairs, we put brass, risers on them. And, you know, at night, it's just a very nice, comfortable kind of feature for the house. And let's go check out the family room. So we are in the family room. This is where we will hang out, watch movies, play games. That's where my kids love to hang out. We wanted this space to feel very cozy. It has the lower ceiling for the house. Most of the house has high ceilings. This part has 8 feet. So we did all of the 8-foot ceilings in lacquer to make it feel a little bit more bright and spacious. We have this really fun rattan sectional that I'd found at an antique store. And then we have a gallery wall, and these are pieces that we have picked up over the years from travels and just different things that we love, different cities we've been to. This is a piece that I had gotten in Florence when I did my study abroad during college. And then this piece here is one that we found in Stockholm when we went in 2010. And then our favorite feature of this room is the view out to the pool and then our creek and pond. And then in this space, we also have a game table. And this has been great for family game night. This is also usually covered with Legos. This is where my kids do all of their little creative projects. This is something my son has been working on, and basically I think his goal is to make it as long as possible. It's just this crazy string. But I kind of like it in the bowl. It's fun and colorful. So one of the projects when we renovated the house, we wanted to change all of the interior doors. They were nothing special. They were just, hollow core painted. So we found these beautiful doors by True Style. They have a little bit of a retro 70s feel to them. They also have a little bit of that nod to Asian design, which we loved and think, the house really kind of speaks to. So we changed all the doors, and we had all of the trim around the doors done in black walnut to complement the paneling in the living room as well as the kitchen. So we added this mirror to the space really just to make the space feel wider. It's a very long and skinny room, and I wanted it to have more depth. When we bought the house, the previous owner had left a couple of really cool gold mirrors that we used in the gallery wall. And we just happened to already have this large one. So it was perfect to bring the whole room together and just kind of give it that sense of design that it all kind of complements together. On the console, we just have a collection of books. Books are another thing that I love to purchase when we're traveling or visiting a new place, and it might not even relate to the place we are, but it always reminds me of where we went. And then on top, we just have a couple of things that we've found over the years. We have this little painting of, Randy's Donuts in Los Angeles. Again, we love visiting California. The bowl is something that a friend of ours brought back from Argentina as a gift. So one of the best features on this part of the house is the view of the pool and the waterway that's outside. And speaking of, the guest room, which I'll take you into next, has the absolute best view in the entire house. I love this room because it feels like you're in this tree house or, kind of a retreat looking out over the pond. This space is a little bit in transition at the moment. This was my office until about 2 weeks ago. And now it is going to double as my guest room and office. I'm still waiting on my desk, which will go back here. But we placed the bed floating in the space so that it would have a beautiful view of the pool and also of the pond. So this is one of the rooms who when I had talked with the previous owner's daughter, she mentioned that this room they referred to as the black and white room. So I thought, well, it'd be perfect to go with that theme in here. And, to not go too harsh with black and white, I found this beautiful houndstooth wallpaper that I thought was just really interesting, had a good texture to it. And I love the way the gray, brings the black and white together and also complements the brass and the wood tones. So this being a space that I also use as my office, it has a lot of my design books and things that have inspired me over the years as an architect. This model is actually our former home. This is a model that we did when we were designing that house. And I just love it. It kind of reminds me of, where we were. This painting is something I found at Round Top in Texas. Don't know where it's supposed to be, but it reminds me a lot of downtown Dallas. And I just fell in love with it. And I love the architectural aspect of the painting. Has different styles of architecture that have been developed over the years. Reminds me a lot of Main Street here in Dallas. So I have a fondness for 1950s retro pop architecture, and this piece reminded me a lot of that. Just the neon. And then speaking of, I have this great painting over here that is of the Neon Museum in Las Vegas. I personally think what makes a home come alive is the people that inhabit it and make it feel lived in and make it feel theirs. I love homes that have imperfections. That's one of the reasons that I really wanted to move into something that was a renovation for me instead of a new build. Even though I love new builds, I wanted something that had some patina and had some elements that I wouldn't necessarily do if I was given the choice, that I have to kind of live with and just realize like, hey, this house has a story and a history, and I think that gives the house a soul. For me, it's just the collected feeling at home. We use every space in our house. It's very functional. It looks nice, but it's used. We live here, and I think that's really important for homes to feel like they have a purpose and to have a soul. And then now let's go across the house to the primary suite. This is our primary suite. We wanted this room to really feel like a retreat. Again, this was a COVID project, so it was really important for us to feel like the space was a getaway. We wanted it to remind us of places that we had traveled. One of the things that we loved about it was this little terrace that I had already shown you outside, which felt like a little destination and getaway. We have this great fireplace, which we had always wanted one in our bedroom. I have some photography that I had taken in Palm Springs on one of our vacations. And then this art here is a piece that we picked up on a trip to Amsterdam. And then the art over the bed, these are pieces that we found on a family trip to London. It's David Bowie and Queen Elizabeth. The 4-poster bed we've had for years. We had bought it when we built our last house. It's a piece for room and board, and it's just one of those simple architectural design beds that just really goes with the space. And then to complement the silver on the bed, we went with the mylar ceiling. And the mylar really, because there's not a whole lot of natural light in the space, we wanted it to feel like it was just a very tall space with maybe even a skylight, kind of draw your eye up. The antique steamer trunks are actually a gift from a former client when they had a big move across country. And this one I think is dated as like 1921. The house is quite large, but we really are lacking on a lot of closet space. So this is great for us to store our winter items. We went with a wide plank wood floor. This was actually a floor that we had seen in a hotel in California we had stayed at. So we knew that we wanted to use it in our space, and it warms up the room. And then on this wall in the primary bedroom, we have sketches. These are what I was mentioning earlier, different inspirations from around the world, different times, different trips. I think my favorite of these is actually this one here from Madrid. It was actually very challenging to draw because it's all mirrors and I had to draw the reflection. But I had a really fun time drawing that one, and I also had a giant gin and tonic while doing it, so might be why it's my favorite. And then through here is the primary bathroom. The setup of the space is pretty cool. It was set up as a his and hers, and it was perfect for us. We knew that we wanted to have our own spaces. It was more closed off. This was a good example of one of the rooms that had the terrazzo running under the framing. So when we pulled the walls out, it was very seamless. We didn't have to really worry about patching the floor. There used to be a door here, and the sauna, which we actually rotated over, used to close off this space, but we opened it up also into our sitting room. This wallpaper is Fernery by Martin Lawrence Bullard, and I had mentioned this earlier. This bathroom, I saw a photo of a really fun green palm frond paper that was no longer here, but it inspired me to go back with something that felt just a little bit more, organic and fun and graphic, and kind of that, I love green, so kind of having that, that green punch with the black and the brown was really important to me. So we wanted the space to feel very SoCal, but also, very masculine. So we went with, continued the black, white, and brown theme throughout. The design of the vanities was based on some original architecture drawings that we found from before this bathroom had been renovated in the 90s. It had these, flat arches. So we used that as inspiration. But again, we made everything a little taller and a little bit more on a grand scale. Also adding this huge window over the tub, that was something, that there wasn't a whole lot of glass in this room. So we added this wall-to-wall, floor-to-ceiling window here. So this door is original to the house. This is one of the pieces that has a little bit of that Asian inspiration. We really wanted to keep it, since it's original, this is into our water closet. And, you know, it has that kind of Japanese vibe. We actually stayed at an old house in Japan one time, and it had the exact door, which was pretty cool. Through here is the primary closet. This is another space that we had to reconfigure. We took some smaller closets and made it into one larger one. This lucite chandelier is another piece that came from our former home. It's vintage from the 1970s. Adam and I do share a lot of clothes. That's one of the benefits, I guess, of being a gay couple, and we can kind of swap out our clothes, so it's all mixed in. And he will very often come out wearing the same outfit as me. I've had to go back and change several times. On the very top, we have our winter section, and we can get up there using this crazy shepherd's hook to reach up and grab the hangers. Instead of doing a traditional closet island, we went with this furniture piece. It's great for storage, and it also has this built-on bench, which we can use to put on our shoes. And I had it recovered in black and white houndstooth. What I love most about our home is it has a ton of natural light. It's a floor plan that I think is a little probably dated for most people if they were going to start from scratch. But for us, it lives well. It's exactly what we needed for us. I love that it's mostly a one-story house, so it's just kind of a sprawling house with a lot of high ceilings and natural light. And I love the little imperfections everywhere. I think that, to me, that was really important. I grew up in New Orleans, and I just loved the patina and history of that city. And being in Dallas, where everything is so shiny and new, it was really important for me to have something that felt like home, and this truly does feel like home for me. As an architect, I draw inspiration from everywhere. I love to travel. I studied abroad in college, and that really was very inspiring to me. So whenever we travel, I bring a sketchbook. I will doodle. I'll draw different scenes of interiors, street life, and I do incorporate that into all of my projects. And I'm always looking at other sources for furniture and little building details, that I see, anywhere I go. So, for example, I was in Stockholm, and I loved the pattern on the gate to the subway system, and I used that as an inspiration for a house here in Dallas. So I really draw inspiration from everywhere, especially my travels, and of course, my hometown of New Orleans. There's always that influence in me. And then in this room, we have Adam's study, which has a huge desk. It's actually kind of messy. And these great windows. We love the high ceilings in here. And we have this great light fixture, which we had customized from Blueprint Lighting New York. And this is another piece of the house that really felt kind of Japanese to us, probably because of the big yopon tree outside. And we have some art that we had commissioned by a friend of mine who's an artist here in Dallas. This is our main hallway in the house. And of course, like a lot of the 1970s ranch style homes, you have these really long halls. So we wanted to make it something special. We added the black and white paper on the ceiling, which we had custom printed. And the idea behind it was that we wanted to tie in with the black and white curtains on the front of the house, as well as the black and white awnings. A little bit of that nod to the, again, Southern California and Beverly Hills area. And we utilized this space, like most people do, for our gallery wall, family photos from travels over the years. One of the things that we did during the renovation was to also raise all of the headers in this section of the house and add transom windows above the doors. This is another nod to my hometown of New Orleans, and was also another way to make the space feel a little bit more designed and architectural, and on a sunny day to bring in more light into this hallway. Another thing that we had done to open up the space was we took out this large bank of closets, and we added a niche for a console and lamps and another antique mirror wall. And it really was just to break up the long hallway feel. And we added another flat arch just to kind of tie in that detail that I mentioned earlier in the primary bathroom. So this space we love. We can sit in here. enjoy the yard from indoors, it's also a really nice place to retreat for us in the house. On a nice day, if we have entertaining, we'll open up these big doors to the terrace, and it's a place to escape the heat while the kids are in the pool. We tinted the ceiling to go with what I mentioned in the hallway, that kind of cabana feel, the black and white stripes that you might see at the Beverly Hills Hotel in Los Angeles. We wanted this room to feel very indoor-outdoor and to have really kind of a design statement. So the console piece is vintage. It's a piece that we've had for years and we wanted to use again in our new house. And we have our art glass collection on top, and then a couple of pieces that we had found on a trip to Amsterdam. The glass collection is just something that I've collected over the years. I love mid-century design and I love Palm Springs, and these are just pieces that I've found, and just collected over the years and thought it'd be a great place to display them with the natural light coming through. My favorite's this tall yellow one here. And the chairs are swivel chairs that we designed. And to bring that indoor-outdoor feel and to, give us a sense of, not being in Dallas and kind of an escape, we went with this large-scale palm wallpaper that we did in picture framing molding. And then, of course, we have our obligatory Peloton in the corner. And then this chandelier is a piece that I had made. It's a custom Sputnik. This was another piece that we brought from our last home. For me, home means a place for my family to just be ourselves, to feel inspired, to feel safe, and really creative. I always walk around the house and something will inspire me in a project for someone else. This room in particular, we'll sit around, I'll sketch, my kids will read. So for me, I would say home is just a place to be yourself and to feel the most comfortable.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Gonzalo. Welcome to my house in Dallas. Please come in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
I'm Gonzalo Bueno. We're in our home in Dallas, Texas. We're in a 1960s house, ranch style. We bought this about 15 years ago and completely renovated it. It has a great history because the city of Dallas bought this house or built this house for the Archbishop of Dallas. We immediately connected with it because it has a double lot, so we have a beautiful backyard, and I honestly love the footprint too because being a ranch style has an L shape, and you'll see it has the most amazing windows, and from different of the rooms you can enjoy looking outside and the natural light. We really love what we have been able to do to the house and knowing that it has such a great history behind. Although we have made many upgrades to the house, renovations, you would see that we were very respectful of the footprint, which I feel it's really the essence of the house. When we bought the house 15 years ago, the house was truly designed how it was back then. So the rooms were separate and we opened it all up. We also wanted to have more privacy and more storage, so I designed a lot of cabinetry around and a lot of concealed doors to hide places where we have doors or storage. and we kind of just made it our own with design elements that I felt were attractive and finishes that were perfect for the style of the house, but still making it more interesting and special. This is our foyer, and I love it because we were able to widen the openings into the house. Before it was a lot more smaller. And some of my favorite pieces in this room are, for instance, this 1940s French piece that is ebonized and has like the most cool lizard brass handles. I was able to get it in Florence, Italy, even though it's a French piece. And this art piece, which are paper cuts, it has a landscape of woods, which I think is really, really cool. And the mix of all these elements with a cowhide rug and art, it just makes the combination and the first feeling of the house really interesting, I feel. I also designed this bronze candle of a snake where we always have a candle, and it's just a very nice way to welcome our guests to our house. So from the foyer, we did our case openings bigger. And in the beginning, we used to have here the living room, which this was the living room of the house. And it was actually closed off from the family area. But since we really wanted to entertain and have more open spaces, we took down these walls and I designed this double-sided fireplace. This used to be our big living room, but as we grew older, we wanted to entertain and have more people for dinner. And so what used to be the dining room, we switched it now to be here to have more space. In the dining room, we love having the double-sided fireplace. As you can see again, I'll have like a type cabinet here, and it's all mixed with my Asian sculptures, Mexican artists. It's the mix of all these pieces that I think makes it so interesting. And, one very interesting story is this here was my first art piece that I bought as a kid. I probably was like 13, 14 years old. And this is a Dali piece that I was able to pay the gallery with a lot of effort and allowances, but it's always meant a lot to me to have it. So we can fit 12 people at the dining table. These tables are awesome because they're perfect squares, 60 by 60, so we can pull them apart and even sit 16 people. But the way that we have it laid out here, we can do 2 more on each end and sit 10. So we love the versatility of it, and that, we can do something more intimate or we can invite more friends. Another thing that I love playing with, as you can see, is having a more realistic art piece like the one from the Mexican artist that I showed you, but then a very cool David LaChapelle photograph from his water series, and a big scale of photography, but that brings in always a conversation point with our guests. So I feel that it's important to be able to mix mediums and bring interest to the conversations, especially when you're here having dinner at our house. Our rug is from Odegaard. I bought it in one of my trips with clients in New York. And I love that it also kind of brings in nature, since it has this beautiful landscape to it. And it sort of also ties up a little bit of our pepper cut from Adam Ball art piece. I feel that in this house with all these windows and so much green around us, it's nice to have that feeling. I bought this art piece also from a gallery in Monterrey, Mexico, which ironically was showing at one of the Dallas showrooms here at David Sutherland. And I immediately connected with how abstract it was and full of colors, but the colors were all earthy and warm. So I always thought that it was something great to have in the context of my house with all the type of colors that I have for the fabrics and textures. These stools are kind of awesome because we can always just carry them around the house, and also a funny thing is they go up and down. So they become kind of that piece of furniture that you have in your house that you just move around either to the table or to the seating area. They're just easy and fun. When we first came to see this house, I'm going to be quite honest, we walked in and the spaces were laid out a little different, and the interiors were very dated, and it had a few things that I didn't love, like an open kitchen with a glass block. It was just dated, and the rooms were not open to each other, so it felt like it had a lot of small rooms. So the truth is, we walked out of here and thought, this is not for us. And a couple weeks later, I was traveling, and when I was traveling, I found the floor plans of the house. And on my flight to Vegas, I started sketching around and thinking, okay, what would I do if I bought this house? Would I open this up? Would I close this off? Would I open these frames? And I was just having fun because I didn't have anything to do, and you know, it's what I do. So I started playing with it, and when I landed, I called our realtor and I said, you know what? I think this house has great potential. Let's make an offer. And sure enough, we got it, and luckily we did make an offer when we did, because a few minutes later, there were 3 other offers behind. So I think it really was meant to be. We immediately got to work on the house, and I think it took us about 6 or 8 months to completely take it to the studs and remodel it. And we had to move in without a kitchen because we did a German kitchen, and those, you know, take several months. So in the beginning, we didn't even have a kitchen, but we were fine. We didn't have this furniture, so we had a little settee in front of our TV. Like it all just happened too quickly, but within a year, I think we were able to be all settled in and comfortable, and it did started feeling more like home. We can go now to our dining room that connects to our more formal seating area of the house. And so this room, probably like most rooms in most houses, it's the one that we only use in very few occasions. And it used to be the dining room, but we turned it into our formal living room. And this room is full of meaningful things to me. I mean, the sofa is by Pro Memoria, that does the most beautiful upholstery and bronze work. So you can even see the solid bronze handles that it has on the back of the sofa, and then the layering of pillows that start in a silk velvet and then go to a linen to another fabric. So layering things is something that I love. We have this beautiful sofa, and then my collection of dolls here, or idols, or saints, however you want to call it, but things that I've been getting through the years. I've just been collecting all of these things through the years, through trips. They're meaningful things to me, even, you know, like this Baccarat heart that I got from my mom. It's here on my little sort of like an altar. The ceremonial little dress from India, and, you know, all of this ends up being next to this beautiful piece that I got at an art fair that has a reaction to the fabric. That reaction is written on the side of the frame, that creates this really interesting art piece. And then photography, which I'm a big fan of photography. So you'll see here Kate Moss, photographed by Mary McCartney, Paul McCartney's daughter, which they're really good friends, and she did a series of photos from Kate. The kind of little bit of craziness here with these Baccarat pendants designed by Arik Levy that are called the Phantom. There's little like ghosts that move around that I wanted to install in a more playful way than the traditional way, and as well as all my objects on my cocktail table that are some are gifts from very close friends of mine. Like this sculpture is a gift from one of my really close friends, actually my business partner, and so are the other elements here. So the house inside has a modern aesthetic. At the same time, I like antiques, so you'll see how I've loved mixing antique Asian cabinets with modern sofas and classic pieces like an Jacobsen egg chair. So it's really eclectic in a way. It's full of moments or items that have meant a lot to me. I try to collect things from my favorite designers, since this is what I do. And at the same time, in some things I've been respectful, or I've tried to get, like our outdoor furniture is all Richard Schultz, which is from the same time, the 60s. Our X chair is from the 60s too. So, and that's the time that I was born. So it all kind of felt like it clicked when we decided to buy this house. We're now here on our family room. As you can see, it's open to the dining and the formal living. And this is where we spend a lot of time as a family, because we have this great sectional that is perfect for us to be watching TV. And I wanted to design something special with different materials for this wall. So I went for the brass panels with these really cool slim bronze shelves that just come out of the wall, and combined with lacquer cabinets, and then a base for this gray sculpture that I was able to get at the Art Ball at the DMA, and that's from Nicola Alquin. As you can see, then there's this skull sculpture from Nicola Bola, this Italian artist, and it's all wrapped in Swarovskis. So you start getting all this mix of different things that just give the room a lot more character and personality. So I love Trudon candles. They're my super favorite candles, and the scent Ernesto, it's by far my favorite. I think I have a very specific style and way for things to look, that I truly enjoy doing my own flowers most of the times. And I always feel that it's a little bit of like therapy for me to get to do something with my hands and leave it exactly like the way I would want it to look. To be honest with you, I just went to the flower market here in Dallas, and I thought these were like really cool and exotic, and I don't even know their name, but I love the look of them. Our family room connects to this bar, and in the past, this is where there was an angle wall with an opening looking into the kitchen, and that wasn't something that I wanted. So I was able to design this bar, and I did it with bronze mirrors so it would have a reflection and make the space feel more open. And we just did this like little seating area here next to the fireplace, where we can also just connect to the family room. Just like I said, opening up more the spaces and making all this area be connected and more fun for everyone. It's a neon art piece from Tracy Emin, which is a British artist. And when we got it, our first daughter was about to be born. So I love the message and I love this artist. So we just felt that it was perfect to get it for us. Something very special about this British artist, Tracy Emin, is that she happens to be a close friend of Elton John who keeps one of the three other pieces of this art piece. So one of my favorite things in our bar, especially when we get together with friends and we're celebrating something or just before we go to dinner, is using our champagne flutes, because they're a collection that every glass is a different style. So it's just fun to have everyone come over and kind of pick their favorite glass and, sip their champagne while they're here. Part of what we love this bar is when we're entertaining and we have all of our friends over, we can just stock up here with drinks and some hors d'oeuvres. We even use this sink and fill it up with ice and have wine or champagne bottles. That makes it so easy for everybody to serve their drink. So as you can see, now going to the kitchen, I went to school in Monterrey, Mexico at Monterrey Tech, and I studied architecture. Back in those days, which were the beginning of the 90s, architects used to do a lot of interiors as well. So we started our firm, my business partners and I, in 1994, and we were doing architecture with interiors, and it just sort of evolved to what we're doing now, which is basically the same, but we do half and half in our firm. It makes it a lot of fun when you get to understand architecture and how it all works, space planning. I have a tendency to see spaces, and even if I'm just doing the interiors, I have to move a wall where it needs to be moved, or a window, do the perfect lighting for it, because I feel that everything has to come together to create the perfect space. So having my experience in architecture really helped me a lot when we started doing interiors. And Dallas has a great design center, which is what brought us here to Dallas a lot with our clients. And soon enough, we decided to open an office here in Dallas, which was in 2004. And our business has grown, and we've had great projects. We've met great clients and friends. And now we're keeping an office in Mexico and also here in the United States, which has helped us expand a lot of our business and really do what we love doing, which is architecture and interior design. Now we're coming into the kitchen. This is actually the back wall of the bar, where we were able to get a lot more storage, which was very needed. And also our tall column appliance. We even have a TV now that it's above our coffee maker, which I'm religious about. I love having coffee every morning, and I can set the timer and have it ready for me. You would see that in the beginning, this kitchen, before we had kids, we had beautiful painted walls with art piece and a glass, basically kitchen island. And then when we got the kids, we needed to make some changes and got together with Bolt Up, and they were able to design this new kitchen island that has more storage, more refrigeration, a space for everyone to sit down and enjoy any meal. So we had to make it more practical, but we still wanted it to feel like it was our home. So this is what we did. When we bought the house, the kitchen had this beautiful skylight, and I hesitated to take it out or not, but I really enjoy having all this natural light, and I felt that the contrast of the warm rest of the house to come in here into the kitchen and be full of light was really, really nice. It's like perfect to have your coffee in the morning and to get your day started. As the family grew bigger, we needed to be more practical, so we handpicked these beautiful Calcutta slabs that help a lot when cooking and using the kitchen for maintenance. So it still added a lot of character and kind of picked up all the gray hues from the pantry part that's still hugging by the frames of the bar. So one of the cool features of this German kitchen, it took us a second to get used to, but now we love it. And they said that it's really good ergonometrically for your back, is the way that they store all the plates, all the dishware, which is in a drawer, but it really makes it now so easy, and I really like it. Same as the cutlery and all of that. So we're now in our breakfast room, probably the room that we use the most every day. And I, again, wanted to make it different and special. That little settee there sometimes can have 3 people seated there. And I wanted to do a classic table like this, the Serenine from Knoll with the Calcutta marble as well. Art, this artist was the first artist that did Photoshop in the United States many years ago. So as you can see, this person here is him, the photographer, layered and layered, same as the bird and the sun and the reflection. It's a really cool photograph. Just got that Asian cabinet. As you can see, I love Asian furniture, and just to add more storage where we can have more of the things that we use to entertain. It's been great. As you can see, I have grass cloths on the walls here as well as in the rest of the house, because I like how good it looks, and it's very consistent. And I also feel that it helps not to be chopping each room, but it opens up all the feeling of the house. Now you'll see why we love this breakfast room so much, and that's because we're so close to the backyard. So let me take you over there. So now we are here outside, and you're gonna be able to very easily see our L-shape part of it, and how special it is for us to be out here with this beautiful lawn and our pool. We have a couple of different seating areas with our 1960s Richard Schultz furniture that I just feel it feels like perfect for the house. We spend a lot of time out here. I mean, with the girls in the summer, having the pool is amazing. It kills a lot of time with them. And also when the weather is nice, we just love to hang out as a family. I mean, the kids are always doing art crafts over here in this sitting area, and we invite our friends over, have a glass of wine, get in the pool, just really enjoy ourselves. So it's such a special backyard with trees that have so many years, and we can enjoy to see all this greenery. So it's a great part of what we love the house since the first place. And you know, you can see probably here how we had kids, we had to add to the house. It was a complicated decision how to mix the style of the brick walls with the tile roof. So we just decided to do a really contrasting material, which is these metal clad walls and the metal roof, to kind of tie it all back together and not look so much like we added to the house. When we first bought this place, the previous owner had a more eclectic landscape. They had a variety of plants everywhere, and in the beginning I just wanted to clean everything up, had a more flat backyard, and then have accents of trees and different heights. So we did redo all the flooring and different layouts for the seating areas, lighting, added all these trees that I felt had more personality and had more order than what the previous owners had. Okay, so let's go back inside. I can't wait to show you the bedrooms. I think that my favorite thing in this house is the layout. I love the L shape because I feel that we can get so much natural light from the family room where we are now and where we are mostly every night. Our breakfast room can also look outside, and We always sit as a family for breakfast and for dinner. I love enjoying to see in the backyard. And our bedroom also looks out. So I have to say that the favorite thing of this house for me is the L-shaped layout. I think the mix of materials in our house is what makes it come alive. The mix of a grass cloth wallpaper with brass panels, lacquer finishes, stone tables, upholstery in different textures, leather chairs, combining all these elements in a way that they look good together, I think is a key in any project. And obviously, being my house, I get to explore all that and take challenges. I don't like to do things with one same material. I like mixing the bronze mirrors and the brass panels and the dark hardwood floors with the white casing in the openings. Very important to have good lighting. I'm a big art fan. I love collecting art and feel that all the pieces need to be perfectly illuminated. So I think lighting, it's important. Having it directed to the art piece, being able to dim them properly, and also a good sound system can make the house also have like the best mood for any type of occasion. I wanted to really show you our powder room, which is probably like one of the smallest powder rooms you've ever seen, but we took space out of the foyer that was pretty generous and just did this great black granite pedestal sink and added this sheer drapery here to give some privacy to the other part of the bathroom. I bought it, I didn't design it or anything, but the proportions of it was perfect because, as you can see, we probably have like 16 inches of depth, but it feels perfect. And doing a wall-mounted faucet helps just drip all the water to the center of the sink. So it was a great solution for a small space and giving the house a interesting powder room. We're now here in the primary bedroom. I designed this room to feel very cozy. I went for upholstered silk fabric on the walls and a custom bed and nightstands that I wanted to just feel very minimal and clean. TV pop-up cabinet, which has been one of the best things ever, because at night when you just want to disconnect and watch a show or something, it's so nice to just have the TV like right in front of you. We really enjoy it. We love just relaxing here at the end of the day and disconnecting. This little seating arrangement in our bedroom, it's always perfect for the morning coffee, to just kind of sit here and enjoy the view to the backyard. We really use it, although sometimes it does become that perfect place where you just kind of throw your bag or clothes, and it's kind of hard to keep it always looking like this, but that's the intention. In our efforts to keep adding storage, we also added this beautiful wall of cabinetry and had my friend Eduardo Garza, that is from Mexico, from Monterrey. We met in the 80s, and he has the most beautiful collection of art, and he did these turtle pools for me, all mounted in bronze. You'll see pieces of my friend Eduardo throughout the house. He now lives in New York, but we met when we were in high school. So let's go to the bathroom now. This was the space that had to be completely redone. The way that the Archbishop had it, had these two windows here where he could kneel down and pray, but I added a third window so that it could create the symmetry between the two sinks. designed the cabinetry with Macassar ebony, which is one of my favorite woods. Plus, I feel that it's really nice and masculine, especially when you contrast it with black granite. And then also completely designed our closets that, as you can see, I wanted them to be very specific for our sunglasses and some of our jewelry and all of our clothes with leather wrapped fronts for the drawers and everything that you need in a closet. I love having an organized closet, an organized car, and organize everything. That's the way that I like living. And when things are out of place, it gives me anxiety and I have to go back and put it all together. So I love color coordinating and everything that you can think of in a closet. Okay, on our way to the girls' rooms, I have to show you this art piece. This is also one of my first art pieces that I got when I was still living in Monterrey, Mexico. This is one of my favorite art pieces as well. It has traveled to several museums around the world. The artist's name is Paula Santiago. She's from Mexico. And she did this huipil, which is like a Mexican ceremonial dress in rice paper. And when I tell you what it's made out of, you're probably not going to believe it, but it's part of why it is so interesting, because it's all made out of her own hair and blood, creating a human heart. And the funny thing is, everybody's reaction when they know what it's made out of is a rejection, where when we all actually have hair and blood, but if we see it out of the context where we're used to seeing it, it creates a reaction to reject it. So I think it's beautiful and authentic, and I love having it in our house. With the two girls, I had to very quickly learn a lot about kid-friendly materials, and I've always been a big fan of high-performance fabrics. Love perennials fabrics that have been using them for years. So like here, this is an Italian sofa that after the girls came, we had it completely recovered in perennials fabrics, and I can enjoy our house and not have to worry about any spills or accidents. So it's one of the things that I first learned. Even in our girls' rooms, I've done perennials rugs as well, and it just makes living a lot easier. So this is Alicia's room. This is our oldest kid. She's 8 years old now. She's in first grade. And I wanted the room to feel like the house. I wanted to have personality, but I still understood that she's just 8 years old. So we did this beautiful LET's vinyl wall covering that I think looks amazing, that adds the texture. And then we bought this RH bed and just had it recovered with a very beautiful patterned fabric. And she has all her little things and books and pictures, and now she just got a desk, which she's very excited about, and she's using it. This is her bathroom, which used to be a Jack and Jill, was connected to the other bedroom, but I custom designed everything for her, including a little vanity area, which, believe it or not, an 8-year-old is already enjoying it. This is actually Alicia's first birthday dress, which it was given to her by her godparents. So I thought it would be a really cool memory to have. So that was his first dress for her first birthday, and these were her first shoes. So I decided to mount them on these acrylic boxes and just let her have that memory forever. Actually, when she was born, there was a little write-up on a newspaper here, and I also had it framed for her. And just want her to always be able to look back and see all these memories of things that happened. And my friend Eduardo, he made this drawing of her and her name. So I had it also framed, which I like it because it adds the value of a good friend that is an artist for something special for Alicia. So let's go see Annabelle's room now. Annabelle is 4 years old. This used to be the nursery when we first had Alicia, and then we moved Alicia to her room, and this became Annabelle's room. It's a really cute bedroom, just like Alicia, full of light colors, also with memories like her first dress in her party and her first little shoes that she wore. And so it's just a really happy room. Of course, I had to have an art installation for her. And actually, it was done for the nursery from my friend Lucrecia Wagner that does this beautiful porcelain. And her bed that I also designed for her is a trundle, so any of us can come and sleep with her. I also wanted to do some shelving and have some pictures and cute things to make her room feel very special. So when the girls were born, we decided, okay, we need more space. And we decided to build a second floor. Let me take you up there so you can see their playroom and a couple of guest suites. So in the efforts of adding more storage, as I've been saying, very well needed with a family of 4, I designed this wall that has more storage behind these doors, but I also wanted to make it interesting. And I designed this art piece that was auctioned at the Dallas Museum of Art. So I created this perfect niche with the perfect lighting just to give more character to the staircase going up to the playroom. Heading here upstairs, I had these handrails custom made, also with a little bit of the kind of nature, kind of looks like a tree trunk idea with these beautiful brass sconces. And this is where the girls can have fun, be free, more high performance fabrics in their sectional, playful art, so they can start getting stimulated and still enjoy it and feel like it's in their space. Love this art piece that Michael and I got together, and kind of love the theme of the 4 wolves, since they are a pack that always stays together. So it's a little bit of what we hope that would always happen, that we would always stay together. But this is where the girls can really enjoy, have fun. They have a full closet full of toys, a lot more than I wish they did. And then we added a guest suite here, since we always have a lot of family visit us. My family from Mexico loves to come and spend time with us. So we added this guest suite with a full bathroom closet, so they can stay here and have a great time when they do so. And the other thing that we really needed was an office. So we decided to turn this secondary room into our office. And as you can see, we can have a big partner's desk, filing, etc. And then it gives me a wall for all my books from design and art, some pictures from the family, and a very good thing as well. We were very lucky to buy this art piece at 2x2 here in Dallas, but it's actually a Murphy bed. So whenever we have more guests, very easy to have another bed in this space. So it was a way that helped us having 2 extra rooms, even if the girls were taking the 2 rooms downstairs. And what's part of what makes this house the perfect house for us. To me, home means the place that you can arrive at the end of the day and be with the people that you love and disconnect from everything else, where you're comfortable, where you feel loved and relaxed. Also, home is where you feel that you belong, where the things that surround you mean something to you, that bring any emotion that can be happiness, comfort, anything that can awake a memory or some excitement. I think that's, to me, what I would call home.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.